All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to 6 p.m. the posted time for tonight's meeting, November 7th, 2023 meeting of the Cleveland County Commissioners. Time I call the meeting to order. Madam Chair, do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, we have a quorum.
Next item is our pledge and invocation. This time I'll recognize the Veterans Advisory Panel, our board, Mr. Valerie McCory.
Everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance. Remove your cover. Do the proper salute. I pledge allegiance.
Let's bow our heads. Father God, we come to you tonight as we conduct business. Our commissioners conduct this business for this county. We ask you, Lord God, to just give them the wisdom, the understanding, and the discernment that they need tonight in the decisions that they make. Help us all, Lord, to work together to be one another, be neighbors with each other in our county. Let us each do the best we can to make it the best county in this world. We thank you and praise you. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Next, we'll recognize any elected officials that are present.
Ray Page, Mayor Londu.
Okay.
Councilman Morris Gore, Marty Pendergraft.
Thank you. Next, we'll recognize any veterans. Johnny?
Would you introduce yourself, starting here?
Marty Pendergraft.
Jason Falls, United States Air Force.
Douglas Womack, United States Army.
Brandon Root, U.S. Army.
David Cotton, United States Navy.
Johnny, U.S. Army. Does all of them have one of our county pins? Could you please come to the front? We had these pins made up a few years ago. County Crest. County Crest. On the left. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll recognize any law enforcement which are present.
Devin Allen, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office.
Matthew Pennington, King County Sheriff's Office.
Last, we'll recognize any county department heads.
Bruce Martin, Lady Office.
Carrie Melton, Assistant County Manager. Tiffany Hansen, Health Department. Rebecca Johnson, Interim Director, DSS.
Jason Falls, Business Development Director.
Terry Davis, Emergency Management, Department.
Sherry Lavender, Tax Office.
Thank y'all. First item on the agenda is a motion to adopt the proposed agenda. Are there any items that need to be added to the agenda? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda is a special presentation, Operation Greenlight for Veterans. Phyllis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. America's counties have a long and proud history of serving our nation's veterans, a legacy that continues to this day as we work with our federal, state, and local partners to ensure that former service members in our communities have access to the resources they need to thrive and survive. This coming Veterans Day, the National Association of Counties, better known as NACO, and the National Association of Veteran County Service Officers invite the nation's 3,069 counties to join in Operation Greenlight to show support for veterans by lighting our building's green from November 6th to November 12th. By shining these green lights, county governments and our residents will let veterans know that they are seen, appreciated, and supported. We know that businesses such as Amazon and Lowe's are partnering with NACO for Project Greenlight, so you should be able to get light bulbs from there. Join us, Cleveland County, as we are going to light up our community green to let veterans know we care and that they are supported. In addition to that, Cleveland County showing support and participating in Operation Greenlight. I'm sure if you have not heard about this, I don't know where have you been, but we are hosting the first annual Veterans Resource Connection tomorrow at the LeGrand from 9 to 4. This event would not have happened if it was not for our commissioners and their support and vision with this. Thank you from your team. Thank you for this. So due to the short time when we did this started in August, and we had a very short time frame of vendors that we could get. So I was very happy. My goal was 25. So when we hit 20 and 23, I was very happy we hit 25. But some more came in, and some more came in, and I'm proud to say now that we have maxed out the LaGrange Center with 47 vendors. There is literally no more room for anybody else. We are so excited, and I am so proud to be able to bring these resources along with our commissioners to our community. Our vendors will range from housing, medical care and needs, mental health, housing, substance abuse, counseling, education, transportation, VA benefits and claims, and much more. The film, The Veterans Battlefield, which is a story about our North Carolina veterans, will be shown 3 times during this event. It is free to attend, and it's open to all veterans, families, caregivers, support, and the general public. Please come. We'll have so much available. If you're a veteran, it is recommended that you bring your government-issued ID and your DD-214. If you're a caregiver or a surviving spouse, if you could bring those, plus your marriage certificate and death certificate. If you do not have those, do not worry. That does not mean you cannot get resources. That would just help possibly speed up eligibility. Please come whether you have them or not. So I want to have the Veterans Advisory Board members come up. And I'm going to go ahead, Mr. Chair, go ahead and read the proclamation for support of Operation Green Lights. Support for Operation Green Light for Veterans. Whereas the residents of Cleveland County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and their community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and the way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Cleveland County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually. And whereas an estimated 20% of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future. And whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and bureaus to recognize Operation Green Light for Veterans. And whereas Cleveland County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Now therefore be it resolved, with designation as a green light for veterans, Cleveland County hereby declares from October through Veterans Day, November 11th, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service. Therefore, be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Green Light, Cleveland County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in their window of their place of business in their residence from November 6th through the 12th, 2023. Adopted this the 7th day of November, 2023.
We'll just do it back here for you. Easier. Yeah, you go.
We'll back you up.
That's fine, it doesn't need to go.
All right.
So I'm gonna, just one more minute, Marty or Valerie, do you want to talk about the Veterans Parade coming up?
November 11th, every year, except on Sunday, we have our program, and for the last,
I think 7 or so years, we've had our parade. Our parade will start off forming up around 9 o'clock. We'll kick off about 10 o'clock on South Market Street as it passes through the city and end at the Bell Pavilion, and then move over at 11 o'clock for the program at 11 o'clock with partners from local parishioners, music. We have a guest speaker, as well as color guard. We rotate our color guard and our music and our different distinguished speakers. This year, the Crest Junior ROTC will be representing the colors. The American Legion Color Guard will be doing the 21 rifle salute. And we have had wonderful participation from the public, the businesses, as well as the veterans who have come out, and we continue to grow the parade as well as the program, and we just thoroughly enjoy and appreciate your support.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
We'll see y'all in the morning.
Valerie, is it too late if someone wants in the parade? If not, will you tell them how to
No, it
get
is not
by?
too late. You can
tell
show up Saturday morning on South Market Street. We're entering from Gardner Street onto South Market. But sure, you can come that morning, you can show up. We will put you at the end of the parade, but you can come and you can be in it, and we want you to. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment, Madam Clerk.
The citizen recognition portion of a Board of Commissioners meeting is an opportunity for persons wishing to appear before the board to do so. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which they signed up to speak and will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. Speakers will address the board from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation and are prohibited from using profanity or making threats of violence or personal attacks against any person. All comments from the speakers shall be issue-oriented and directly related to the subject that commissioners have oversight and authority. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to address the board. A speaker is not permitted to share, reserve, or relinquish any remaining time allotted to them to another speaker. Any comments where the primary purpose is to promote a business or candidacy will not be allowed.
Thank you. First, we have Dina Christian.
Hi, Dina Kristen, 215 Eagle Cove Drive, Cherville. I'd like to read some recent social media comments from locals. My dogs keep getting attacked by the same group of dogs in my yard. Dog found with broken leg. I have had 3 large dogs come in my yard and come after me. Someone is dropping these dogs off, 5th dog in a month. I cannot let my animals or children in the yard. My cat is still recovering. They mutilated my neighbor's bunny. The central mission of an animal control agency is to protect the health and welfare of citizens by minimizing the frequency with which animals damage property, threaten or injure people, disturb the peace, or spread disease. Laws that support this mission are essential. Quality of life is diminished for residents witnessing dogs protruding rib cages, skin diseases, and broken bones. Differential licensing fees and spay-neuter resources are 2 of many ways to support this mission. There are fees associated with many life choices, for example, owning a car or hunting. Pet ownership is also a choice, and enforced costs should not be seen as punitive, but rather as supporting the infrastructure of our community. Unaltered dogs have the potential to incur much higher costs to the community. Owners have the choice to not sterilize, but it should come with additional expense. Some examples of increased expenses are intact males are involved in 75% of reported dog bite incidents. Sterilization reduces the urge to roam. As many as 85% of dogs hit by cars are unaltered. Sterilization decreases unwanted overpopulation. There are positive effects of fees and low-cost spay-neuter. For example, after a $45 surcharge was imposed for intact pets in King County, Washington, shelter intake over a 13-year period dropped by over 14% despite a 21% increase in population. New Jersey addressed its overpopulation problem with a statewide low-cost spay-neuter program. Impounded dogs dropped by 75% from 1984 to 2014. A low-income neutering assistance program in New Hampshire in 1994 resulted in a 1/3 drop in intake during its first 6 years. Impounded expenses dropped by $3.2 million, while only $1 million was spent on the sterilization subsidies. Many pet owners do not sterilize due to the cost alone. Educating and subsidizing can reduce unwanted litters, which means new pet parents will look to organizations and breeders that not only vet the new owners, but also educate on the costs and responsibilities. Litter fee enforcement can deter unintentional breeding and can be waived upon sterilization. Accidental breeders are giving away and abandoning litters, and rarely is there mention of vet care. Cleveland County falls into the highest category of heartworm incidents reported by the American Heartworm Society. This cycle repeats. Any breeder who is opposed to a nominal fee, a business expense, is not a legitimate breeder at all. Social media is full of found dogs, oftentimes showing signs of neglect and/or abuse. Community members are using time and money to care for these animals, which could be redirected to better help those who have fallen on hard times. It's our officials' responsibilities to protect our citizens and animals. This can be done by encouraging responsibility, discouraging irresponsibility, and enforcing the shared cost of pet ownership. Injured, abandoned, and diseased dogs are all around us and are reproducing. They are suffering, and we are suffering. Please prioritize this important issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Robert Williams.
My name is Robert Williams. I live in 814 East Stagecoach Trail. It's Lawndale address. I live in Falston. I'd like to add one thing to what this lady just said. I mean, I've heard time after time people come up and talk about dog bites and this, that, and the other. And I'm just tired of hearing it. I'm wondering when you folks are going to do something about all of this. And that's not what I came up to talk about tonight, so I'll get on to that. Part of the agenda items tonight is about, I don't know what it's about. In one place it says Falston, Kaiser Fire District. Another place it says Falston Fire District expansion. There's a staff report that Fire Department of Falston has built an extended fire department in Bellwood. Well, is Bellwood in the Falston Fire District? If not, why is Falston covering Bellwood? There's a lot of unanswered questions that this handout does not a handout, I printed it off, does not address. Who's paying for all this? I was in on this to start with. I remember years ago when they were talking, the commissioners and the fire departments were talking about raising the fire tax. And I went to the Falston Fire Department and I says, why do you want to raise tax? Do you need anything you don't already have? They could not answer that question. They said they had everything they needed. I said, why are you wanting to raise taxes? They said, so we can get more money. Okay, it boils down to more money. So now Falston's building a fire department or fire station in Bellwood. Who's paying for it? We had a tax increase of 75% on the Falston Fire Department. Went from 5 cents to 8.735 or something like that. 75% increase, whatever that amounted to. And so what did Falston get for that? And who does Falston Fire Department report to? They don't answer to the people in Falston. They're a separate entity, or they were. And why are you guys even involved with it? To save some insurance rates. Is that a government function? 6 seconds, I'll get back to you.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Commissioners, you represented the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled? If not, I entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved. I'll second.
Are there any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Anyone opposed will say no. Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the regular agenda. First item there is the Falston Kaiser Fire District. At this time, I recognize Perry Davis.
Do you know how to use that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to stand before you tonight. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize somebody that's been a very crucial part of this and it put a lot of work into. One of our county staff, Aaron Center. Aaron, if you would stand up. Board of Commissioners, this is your GIS coordinator. Puts a lot of work into things that you request from time to time involving maps and so forth. So he doesn't get seen a lot, and I wanted to bring him out before you tonight and recognize him for all his work. Thank you, Aaron. So tonight we're here to talk about the Falston Kaiser Bellwood Fire District adjustment is what we're calling this, because initially it did involve those two fire districts as well as the city limits of Bellwood. So I'm going to give you some background on this. In May of 2022, construction was completed on the Bellwood Fire Station, which is owned by the Falston Fire Department. It's located in the city limits of Bellwood. July 2022, Falston applied for an inspection by the North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal, which is a requirement to certify the station is ready to be used. In January of 2023, the Office of State Fire Marshal issues a letter recognizing Falston's new station as a certified station. On October the 2nd, 2023, a meeting was held between Falston and Kaiser to discuss this district realignment. On October the 26th, 2023, both departments agreed on the new district boundaries after the maps were created by our GIS coordinator. So to give you some idea of what the map would look like, the pink area that you see up to the top left is the current Kaiser 6 Mile, which will stay within that Kaiser 6 Mile district due to the travel distance. The green areas, or they turned out yellow on this slide, are previously Kaiser 6 Mile districts, which were previously Class 9 districts, and now will become in the Falston 5 Mile district, which will reduce the rating to an ISO Class 5. The three shades of blue will all continue and will be Falston's fire district, with the exception of the north area, which is, I call it aqua colored. It's contracted with South Mountain Fire Department in Burke County to provide through an automatic aid agreement, which is now an allowable thing to do through the Department of Insurance, to be within 5 miles of their station. So they will contract with that, and there's no money exchanged for that. They're providing that service to us free of charge. The process for this is, once the districts are approved by this board, they're submitted to the Office of State Fire Marshal for review and approval. Then the maps are sent to the ISO, which is the Insurance Services Offices, for final approval. And that process takes basically an additional 90 days or so. So your action tonight, North Carolina General Statute 69-25.11 requires the Board of Commissioners to approve the fire district boundaries. This is the general statute authority that you have that requires you to do that. The staff recommends approval of the new Falston and Kaiser Fire District boundaries. And your action tonight is to either approve or deny this new district. And at this time, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
All right, thank you, Perry. Members of the board, do you have any questions for Perry in regards to this district line adjustments to meet the ISO and the State Department of Insurance requirements?
No question, just a statement. I appreciate the work that you and the different fire departments have done to redraw the district to bring the fire insurance down for some of the people living in this area.
When you were talking about all this, most of the areas you've talked about is coming down. There's nobody going to go up, right?
That is correct. Each of those residents in the identified areas on that previous map will see a reduction in their insurance premium. Some will see as less as $300, and some will see more dollars in a change in their premium.
Not really on this, but similar. Since we have been making all these changes in our fire districts, the response time continues to go down, does it not?
That is correct, Commissioner Bridges. And thanks to the board's action that took back several years ago to enhance the fire service in Cleveland County, paid staffing is now present in all departments in the county, and that has increased reduced our response time and allowed us to be better servants to our community.
Thank you. Public appreciates that too, Barry.
So, Johnny, did you make a motion? Did I miss that?
I will make the motion that we accept and approve the drawing of the new district line.
Is there a second? Are there any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda, thank you, Perry. Next item on the agenda is kinship provider payments. Ms. Rebecca Johnson.
Sorry. Commissioners, Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you about the Senate Bill 20, which is a new budget amendment that Department is presenting. The Senate Bill 20 went into effect for the standard board rate for our licensed foster care providers. So effective July 1, 2023, our licensed foster parents, foster care providers were receiving an increase. And also during the 2023 legislative session, the General Assembly established a reimbursement fund to assist in supporting unlicensed kinship care providers who are related by blood marriage or adoption and are providing care to children in DSS custody. Due to the fact that this law was enacted May 16th, the Department of Social Services was not able to get this cost added into, this cost responsibility into the 23-24 budget. So this is a breakdown here of the rates. So the rates prior to July 2023, a child birth to 5, a licensed provider would receive $514 per month. That rate with the new Senate bill passed has increased to $702. And so then the kinship board payment is going to be $351, which is half. The county will be responsible for half of that amount. And the ages go through here, 6 to 12 and 13 and up, the rates increase. So the budget amendment is for $800,000. The $400,000 will be state funds and $400,000 will be county funds. The amount we're requesting is based on an estimation of the current children we have in custody and the children that could come into custody for the remainder of the fiscal year, for the remainder of 8 months. So this 400, the two things is the increase in the standard board rate for our licensed foster care providers and the additional rate now that we're going to be giving our unlicensed kinship providers. So some of the concerns about the kinship payments is that at this point in time, we will never be able to project how many kids we'll have in care at any time. This amount can fluctuate. The kinship providers, the law requires that they be related by blood marriage or adoption to the 5th degree. So fictive kin will not be eligible. And we do have some kids currently with fictive kin, which could be like an aunt or an uncle that they call them, but it's really a neighbor. There's really no relation there, but they always called them a relative. And then the increase in licensing these kinship providers is going to cause additional workload on the staff. And we already are understaffed in that area. So we're going to have to work really hard to get these kinship providers licensed. And the kinship providers are going to need to set up vendor agreements with the county. But some of the benefits of the kinship payments is that currently there is no funding tied to kinship placements. So if we bring a child into custody and the court states they need to be placed, and the family would like for them to be placed with someone in kinship care, someone that's related to them, there's no funding. So you're taking that child on, or children, with no additional monies. You're providing for them with nothing. The kinship payments is going to provide them with half of the standard board rate for up to 6 months while they participate in the licensing process to become licensed foster parents. A majority of our kinship providers live in the community here in Cleveland County, so we're going to be putting those funds back into our community for the needs that these kids are going to have. And placement with someone that the children know with kinship providers is much less traumatic for these kids, being taken and put into a house, even a licensed foster home with people they don't know, they've never met before, They've already gone through this traumatic event of being removed. And so this is definitely a great benefit for these kids to be able to go with someone they know. This is our timeline. So we have been identifying the number of children that are eligible in kinship placements and working on setting up vendor agreements. Right now, it looks like we have about 38 that are in unlicensed kinship providers agreements. Presenting tonight to the board, and this becomes effective November 16th is when this starts. The first payments will go out in December. They'll receive partial payments for November, and then they'll receive payments for 6 months during the licensing process. So the action tonight is to motion to approve the budget amendment or to deny the budget amendment, and then questions.
Thank you, Rebecca. Dave, you got anything to add? Board, do you have any questions?
Well, this is pretty much mandated by the state, right? So we don't have
It
a
is a
whole lot of
mandate,
choice.
yes.
An unfunded mandate, but it's something that we really need to do.
Yeah. We do feel like it will definitely be a
Right.
benefit to the children
Absolutely.
and the families that are taking these kids in for care.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
And I'd second that.
Any other questions or additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank
Next
you,
item.
Rebecca.
Next item on the agenda is public hearings, Madam Clerk.
After the public hearing has been opened, citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which they signed up to speak and will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. Speakers will address the board from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. A public hearing is not intended to require the board to answer any promptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. All comments from the speaker shall be directly related to the subject of the public hearing. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes to address the board. A speaker is not permitted to share, reserve, or relinquish any remaining time allocated to them to another speaker.
All right, we have 4 tonight, but the first one is Project Power. At this time, I'll recognize Brandon Root from Economic Development. Brandon?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me here tonight. Phyllis, is that right?
Yep.
Well, thank you for having me tonight, and I appreciate your continued support of economic development to bring exciting projects like this to our community. So, get started here. This one. So, Project Power represents a renewable engineered fuels power company that's going to locate in the potentially locate in the Broad River Assets Building. This building is better known as its former name, the Cleveland Mills, from its textile days. You know, just sort of a note, this is in Lawndale, North Carolina, and Lawndale is definitely one of the more depressed municipalities economically in the county. You know, they're a smaller municipality with only 621 folks in their population. So I would like to recognize just really quickly the owners of this property, Broad River Asset Solutions, the current owners, Joe Morgan and the late Kip Harris. They were very instrumental in their partnership to help us move this building and bring potential jobs and capital investment back to this area. You know, they were very supportive. I called Kip one time 15 minutes before I was bringing the company over, and he welcomed me with open arms. So very thankful for him and his family. So may he rest in peace. But back on to Project Power here. So this company is planning on creating 34 new jobs at an average wage of $51,636. For reference, the county median household income is $45,646, and the town of Lawndale's median household income is $35,455. So this is pretty substantial wages for a small community. And the company is looking to invest $19,437,925 in real and personal property at this site. So, CCEDP, Cleveland County Economic Development Partnership, is proposing that the Board of Commissioners supports two different items. So one of them being a local incentive grant. This local incentive grant will be based on 0.95 or of 1%, so 0.0095 of the total taxable investment, which is again about $19,450,000. And this would be paid out over a period of 5 years, not to exceed this $184,666.28 number. So you can kind of see this, how this will be broken out here. So the first year, they're going to be starting their investment. They'll be a little lower. This is the projected tax value that the company will bring back to the county. And this would be the projected grant amount for the first year. And then each year, after the second year, they should, according to their timeline, complete their full investment, in which case the county will be bringing in about $106,000 of new tax revenue, of which about $42,500 will be granted back to the company for a period of 5 years, after which the grant will go away, and this will be the continued new revenue for the community. And we will also recommend that Cleveland County supports the building reuse grant for this project. So the building reuse grant is a grant that allows for building improvements to the facility. We recommend that Cleveland County serve as the local government applicant for this grant through the North Carolina Department of Commerce's Rural Economic Development Division, which is a mouthful. And the state of North Carolina has suggested they will support up to $250,000 for upfits to this building, and the county would act as a pass-through agent for those dollars. The grant does require a 5% match from the county now that we are a Tier 2 community, but that has historically been satisfied with the grant management services provided by the county. And so, after the public hearing, the two actions would be to adopt or deny the resolution authorizing the economic development incentive, which should be in your packet, and adopt or deny the resolution in support of the building reuse grant through the state of North Carolina. Questions?
Just hang tight, Brian. So, board members, are there any questions before we open the public hearing? So hearing none, so you guys are ready for it? Yeah. All right, so at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Brandon, just hang tight. I'm sure there might be some after this. So at this time, we'll declare that the public hearing is now open, and there's two signed up to speak. So first, I'll recognize Ray Padgett.
Mr. Chair, County Commissioners, I appreciate the time to address you. My name is Ray Padgett, 127 Elam Street, Lawndale, North Carolina. I am the mayor of Lawndale, and I just wanted to come and speak on behalf of this Project Power. As y'all all know, the town of Lawndale is a mill town with a history not unlike many other mill towns in this state. All the infrastructure, including the houses, schools, downtown utilities, were all built around textile operations, and then that was known as Cleveland Mills. And it originally opened in 1889. The mill closed down in 2001. This facility has largely gone used for storage ever since then. The current owners are using it basically as a storage warehouse and trying to do a few other things, but basically it's just storage. And there's not been many jobs for the community, and bringing this operation to Lawndale, coupled with other revitalization efforts, will help bring life back to our community. And we hope that it would bring a lot more jobs and a lot more industry into Lawndale. That, with the Broad River Greenway coming, we've started construction partnering with Cleveland County Water on the Lawndale Park. As some of you may have been by and saw it, it's coming along, it's looking really good. I had the pleasure of meeting with the owners of Project Power and very impressed with their commitment to making this project happen. And I just want to, with the support proposed tonight, this building could very well sit vacant for several more years if this proposal is not accepted. So Cleveland County's continued dedication to developing the local economy provides additional opportunities for our citizens to thrive. And that's what we want Lawndale to do, is to continue to thrive and continue to grow. Thank y'all for your time.
Thanks, sir. Next, we have Robert Williams.
My name is Robert Williams, 814 East Stagecoach Trail. Last weekend, I went to a music festival, and one of the songs was written about the Lawndale Mill. It was Milltown Without a Mill. So it sounds good that something is thinking about coming into Lawndale. As a matter of fact, I worked at Cleveland Mills back in my younger days, going to college, summer job. So second shift in the dye house. So I know a little bit about that mill. It was, like I say, built in what, 89 or something like that. I would have thought there was other things that could have been done way before now. I know Cleveland Mills had a sewer plant, and I think it's been disassembled now. I think that would have helped economic development in Upper Cleveland County a whole lot. Now, this deal about renewable energy, I've got 42 years of experience in energy, nuclear energy. And that's something you can depend on 24/7. It's renewable energy. What it is, I haven't heard one word tonight about what it is, what it does. What kind of renewable energy is it? Does it convert garbage into fuel, or is it a solar panel, solar farm? Whatever it is, I don't know. So it's hard to say. And I'm, without knowing, without enough information, my personal policy is if I don't have enough information on something, my vote is no. But this, and I don't know if any of you could answer any questions about what is this renewable energy source that they're talking about. The pay, it is above average. It's a significantly amount above the average pay in Lawndale now. So there's a lot of good things to be said about it. But also, there's a lot of things that hadn't been said about it. So that's the failure I see. I'm an engineer. I could understand if you was to tell me what this was all about. So far, I haven't heard what it's all about. So you can make your decision however you think, but I would say no.
All right, this time the public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do you have any additional questions or discussions? Brandon, you can come back forward.
I have one. Could you roll back to the?
Yeah. Commissioner,
Said if we had the job,
whoops, where I had the jobs? This slide?
no, go back.
Oh,
right
this one?
there.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that, it says new jobs, first year 14, second year 18, third year 2, fourth year none.
Yeah, so they're,
New jobs in the fourth year.
yeah, so their total new job creation is projected to be 34 new employees at this facility with their process, and so they're going to create all of those jobs in the first 3 years is their goal. Mhm.
Okay, so there'll still be those jobs there, the total 30.
And
Okay.
if I could go back one more slide, if you'll permit me here.
No, that's all right.
I forgot one of the most exciting parts of this project. So the Project Power, they're only anticipated to really take up about this first portion of this building, which was a big reason that the county intervention was needed to convince them to purchase the full thing. But what they have committed to continue to work with economic development to fill the rest of this building with other manufacturing operations and other additional jobs that will continue to catalyze the growth in the Lawndale area. So this could very well become the Lawndale Industrial Park. So there is further potential for economic catalyst and growth out of this project. But it's not exactly tied to this company. Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Brandon, could you put that back on the last slide, please?
Uh-huh.
The the last slide.
The
Oh,
action
the last slide, sorry.
So there's two items before us. We need to do them separately. So the first one is to adopt or deny a resolution authorizing economic development incentive.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the economic development incentives.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Next, we need a motion to adopt or deny the resolution in support of the Project Power Building Reuse Grant.
I'll make a motion that we adopt in support of the Project Power Building Reuse Grant.
I'll second.
Do we have any questions or discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This motion is unanimous. Thank you, sir. Next, we have 3 public hearings that all deal with requests to rezone various parcels throughout the county. So at this time, I'll recognize our planning director, Chris Martin. The first planning case is case 23-21. This is a request to rezone parcels on Dove Cove Lane from restricted residential to residential. I don't believe this is off the Stony Point Road.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Board. As the Chairman stated, we have 3 rezoning cases coming to you tonight. The first case is along Dove Cove Lane, which is off of Stony Point Road, and the petitioners are the property owners, and they're asking to rezone it from restricted residential to the traditional residential district. The property is about 25 acres. Property owners are Tyler and Heidi Bowlby, and it consists of 3 parcels. We have those highlighted in the yellow, and you can see that it's located along Stony Point Road across from the Woodbridge community. The surrounding zoning districts consist of restricted residential, which is highlighted in yellow, and then white, the regular residential, which is the requested district, is colored in white. The property also sits adjacent to an area of about 100 acres just north. It sits just north of this area. It was about 100 acres, and it's the white area south of the parcel. The commissioners rezoned this area to the regular residential last summer. So you got 2 districts, the current district and the requested district. The current district is restricted residential. The uses allowed in this district consist of single-family dwellings and modular homes. The requested district of the traditional residential allows for those uses, plus manufactured housing, and then some multifamily housing. Aerial map of the area, you can see that in that area you're going to find mostly single-family tracts of land, larger tracts of land, and then there's the neighborhood, of course, across the street. And you'll find both site-built homes and some manufactured housing in this area. Our land use plan, this area, it sits on the line of our primary growth area represented with the orange color and the secondary growth area represented by the green color. The secondary growth area, the purpose of that is that our plan visualizes that as being more residential in nature over the next 10 to 20 years. You'll probably find more developments for residential uses in that green area over the next 10 to 20 years. So the requested zoning district, staff and the planning board feels that it's compliant with that designation. Planning board reviewed this case and they recommended approval. They noted that it's an expansion of an existing residential area, that it conforms with the land use plan, and that the uses in this regular residential seem to be compatible and consistent with the uses that are already in this area. And I can answer any questions. This does require a public hearing.
Thank you, Chris. Members of the board, do you have any questions at this time before we open the public hearing? All right, seeing none at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open, and we have one that's signed, one citizen that signed up to speak, Robert Williams.
My name is Robert Williams, 814 East Stagecoach Trail, in Falston. The reason I signed up is I had to sign up. It's one of your rules. I have no information enough about this, but I have to depend on what's presented, just like you do. And I signed up. I heard what was said. I don't know that I was convinced of anything except that the planning board approved it. Did not say approved it unanimously. And my understanding is there's been a lot of planning board members that have not attended meetings recently. So I question just how valid an approval is from a group that most of them, or a good part of them, is not present and hear the information. And the information I heard tonight, it appears that it meets the requirements, but I remember, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have a planning, we didn't have a zoning district in Cleveland County. I remember how it got started. It got started on the wrong foot, and I don't know that we've ever got off of that wrong foot. It was started when somebody that had a nice place and somebody else that didn't particularly like them wanted to put a trailer park next to them. And it was close to Falston, so I was interested. And the guy that had the nice place prevailed. And we started off, that was the first planning we had in Cleveland County, first zoning. And it was just for the Falston, Waco area. And so without enough information, I didn't see anything wrong, but I don't hear anybody that owns the property, what are they gonna do with it? Why are they gonna rezone 100 acres or whatever it was? What are they gonna do with it? I didn't hear any of that. So again, my policy is if I don't have enough information, I have to vote no. The property owner is not here speaking up, so I can't ask them, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna, this from restricted residential to residential, what's the difference? That you had to do that. Knowing where we came from with our zoning to where we are now, how we started off wrong, I haven't seen a lot of improvements. So it's just something that needs to be worked on a little bit. Thank you.
At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Commissioners, are there any questions? So Chris, do you have any other questions or comments? Do you have any other questions for Chris? If not, then we need a motion to either approve or deny the rezoning request.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
Any other additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Hang tight, Chris, you got two more. Next one is planning case 23-22. This is a request to rezone 122 Ovada Drive from heavy industry to residential manufactured homes and parks.
All right, the second case is also a request to change the zoning of two parcels of land. They're located on Ovada Drive, and the request is to change it from heavy industrial to residential manufactured homes and parks. The property is two large tracts of land totaling about 134 acres. We have those highlighted in black. It's the two purple tracts highlighted in black, and they sit at the end of Ovada Drive, which is a dead-end road. Oveda Drive connects into Long Branch Road, which connects into Battleground Avenue between Kings Mountain and Grover. The petitioner is the property owners. There's a list of heirs. The first couple of names you'll find on the application, Barbara Jenkins and Pam Walkowak. So the current zoning district is heavy industrial. This property was zoned as heavy industrial approximately 10 years ago from residential. The heavy industrial district allows for your most intense uses. You know, you can think of uses that cause a lot of, that has the potential to cause a lot of traffic, noise, pollution. These are manufacturing facilities, metal fabrication type of facility, warehousing and distribution type of facilities, and those are the type of uses that are allowed in the heavy industrial zoning district. The petitioner is asking to change it from that to the residential manufactured homes and parks district. This district permits, it's a more residential style district. It permits single-family dwellings, modular homes, manufactured homes, and manufactured home parks, as the name suggests. This area, you can see on the aerial photo, this photo was taken earlier this year, 2023. These tracts of land are currently unimproved. They've been farmland in recent history. And they sit adjacent to a neighborhood, Springwood Drive to the west, and then Oveda Drive and the neighborhood following Oveda south. The land use map shows this designation for this area as secondary growth, and again, like the last case, the secondary growth, the vision behind that in our land use plan is that you'll see more and more residential style development over the next 10 to 20 years. So the requested district would be compatible or consistent with that land use designation. Planning Board voted 3-1 to recommend approval of this request. They noted that it is an expansion of an existing district that's similar, and that being the district to the west, that orange color. They also noted that the request conforms with the land use plan, and that the uses in the requested district seem to be compatible with a lot of the uses that they see in that area around Oveda Drive and Springwood Lane. This case also requires a public hearing, and your choices tonight would be to approve or deny the request, and I can answer any questions.
Can I ask you one real quick? Will you go
Yes,
back
ma'am.
to the zoning map? It's white residential.
White is residential, and the purple is the heavy industrial, and the orange is the manufactured homes and parks district, which is what the petitioner is asking to change to.
And how many mobile homes will we be able to put on that property?
If approved, manufactured home parks would be an allowable use, and we do have an ordinance for manufactured home parks, and you can have up to 2 per acre. If you do not have public sewer, but if you have public sewer, you can have up to 3 per acre.
There's sewer out there, right?
There's sewer in the area. I can't speak to the accessibility of the sewer, but there is sewer in that general area.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Johnny?
Has an impact study been made if they put 253 other trailers in that area? Because we still got, what is it, 30 trailer parks in the area that the road condition's bad
Mm-hmm.
to the point that I guess a plan, construction plan or anything like that been submitted?
There's been no plan submitted. If the zoning was changed and they wanted to submit a plan for a park, our staff would begin review. We would share that with the NCDOT. The NCDOT has criteria as far as accessing public roads, and they would be the determiner of whether or not there would be an impact study required.
I'm talking about roads inside the park itself, because that's where we have problems, because we get called frequently that we've had trailer parks in the area, that the roads where the ambulance or fire trucks, even the mail and the school buses can't get in and out.
So we do have a new ordinance that was adopted approximately a year ago by this board, and it did include language about the road improvements and does require the roads to now meet the fire code, which is basically a design eliminating the risk of trucks getting stuck at a dead end. It requires a turnaround or requires a figure eight so that larger vehicles can get out. And it also requires an all-weather service, such as a packed gravel or asphalt. So our new ordinance does address the road topic.
But there is only one road in, correct?
For this piece of property, there is only one road in, one public road in.
And at the end of that road, haven't we already approved an RV park right at the end of that road?
Yes, the parcel that you see that's in red, there is a permitted RV park, a permit for the development of an RV park for that parcel. And that was approved approximately 2 years ago.
Are there other questions? All right, hearing none, at this time I'll declare the public hearing open. And we have a series here, so is it Vera Passmore? Vera, okay.
Good afternoon. My name's Vera Passmore. I'm at 130 Penny Drive, and I have huge concerns about what's taking place here. And it's very short notice for me. I did not receive the letter. This gentleman has told my husband that he gave him the date or something of when it was mailed, but I'm unsure why we didn't receive it. So with all that being said, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of short notice for me. And I love the fact that he used the word farmland, because that's what it is to us. The increase, well, first of all, I would like to say, from what I understand, they're looking at 140 acres and putting 400 mobile homes in the area. When I do the math, that comes up 3.5 for me, and I don't know how that works, but to me, that says you're jamming a lot of mobile homes per acre. To me, that's an increase in law enforcement in the area. And then when it becomes, we're residents here, you know, this is our homes. This could potentially become a huge nuisance for us. So with that being said, I'm saying we're voting no to the rezoning of what's taking place here. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Reed, you did not want to speak? Is there Mr. Reed? Sir, did you want to speak? Oh, come on.
To the planning committee. I'm Herbert Reed of 553 Kilgore Road. I'm in the corner of Kilgore. Roy Bell comes down, and the grandma used to own that property back in there. That turns into Marvita Drive. So at times when the traffic is bagged up on Long Branch Road up there from the railroad track back, you can't hardly get around the road. You can't even get out the driveway for traffic coming both ways. And I always say that's why you can't get out, because of either the train on the track or something else. And it's just hard. And my wife, she's kind of nervous when you get to a lot of traffic. And at times, it's hard to get out of there. And for the most of us on that part, we disagree with it. We don't want it to change. That's all.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thanks, sir. Scott Glidden.
My name is Scott Glidden, and I live at 130 Medlin Road, Grover. It's the farm that's north of the purple area there. I share about a 2,000-foot border with the property. And I am not in favor of this zoning change. Besides the current owners, who in Cleveland County is going to benefit from this rezoning? And another question I have is, for what reason are you in favor of the rezoning, excluding the excuse that it's next to other areas that's zoned that way? Wonder what kind of zoning the neighborhood would like. The negatives that I see are that the folks that are wanting to buy it are a property management company, and they're in Spartanburg. And they have connected to them a mobile home building company that's in Spartanburg. So it looks like that's who's going to benefit directly. And then as these other folks have said, we're talking about 300 to 500 vehicles a day on Bethlehem Church Road going to Walmart, the Walmart grocery store, or on Long Branch, or on Long Branch Road going to Shelby, or Margrace Road going to Kings Mountain. And I'm wondering, 300 families garbage, where does that go? What's the sewage capacity? I keep hearing about sewage, but nobody says where it is or how much can be had. Water capacity, I wonder about. Where do all these children go to school if this is done? I talked to the fellow in Spartanburg and at the property management company, and he talked about this being done within 6 years, 300 mobile homes out there. On a personal note, how do I keep 300 dogs and cats off of my farm chasing my animals? I've lost several sheep this year already just from one neighbor's dog climbing my fence. How do I keep 300 kids out of the creek? Long Branch Creek runs down through our property. And whose liability is it if they get hurt playing in the creek? What about four-wheelers and crotch rockets trails? I don't want that on my property. Since there are rented, the lots would be rented and not owned by the mobile homeowners. So what kind of neighborhood are we creating? I mean, if you don't own the property you live on, what do you care? Think about all the trash that you see on the sides of the road. The 300 more families. If this goes through, we'll probably get a couple more dollar stores in the area. And I wonder what other businesses. So we could talk about guns. My wife and I built a new home on the property in 2011. And I have a neighbor who operated a gun shop in Shelby, and he had a little shooting range out in his backyard, and he was shooting while we were building the house. And the contractor came to me and said, Scott, this 9mm just landed in the house. And I took it up to the neighbor and I said, please, you gotta stop, shooting up here. Now, a 9mm at that range is like throwing a rock. But, if you got 300 people up here, some of them are gun owners, and they're going to be shooting north at what they think is a forest. And it could be they have a .223, which will carry 500 yards and be lethal. I just worry about all of the things that aren't being thought about here. And as I said in the beginning, I am not in favor of having this rezoned. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, sir. Next, we have Cynthia Glidden.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not dressed better. My name is Cynthia Glidden. I'm married to Scott. We live at 130 Medlin, and that property right here is, I'm a school teacher, retired, so I can raise my voice. Our property is here. As you can see, we're quite abutting that. And this whole thing was turned into heavy industrial in 2011 on the basis, it became heavy industrial only because in order to bring jobs to Cleveland County, and it was going to be the perfect place, and the owner of the land would be able to sell, and we would all benefit. The heavy industry, whatever the program was, never happened. So now we're supposed to feel happy that we can get the RV park and the resident mobile, I don't know, trailer park. I don't want to be unfair, but I wouldn't want to live in a place that my land wasn't under my trailer, wasn't even mine. So that I just pay rent for that land for the rest of my life, even though I bought the home. I'm supposed to be talking to, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Commissioner. I'm very emotional. I just feel like it's too bad we can't find a way for these people to sell their land that doesn't injure so many people as they make their profit on land that they inherited. And that's all I have to say. I just wish there was something more positive that could happen to that land, because it is. Right now it's being farmed for hay. Saw the hay bales, and we've been connected. Well, anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Matt Bell. Matt?
My name's Matt Bell. My wife and I live at 206 Dixondary Road. Our farm touches part of this land that's wanting to be rezoned. I've got 5 minutes. I don't know what all I can pack into that 5 minutes that I need to say. I don't want to come across as being anti-growth. It's coming. I farm for a living. If y'all don't think growth isn't here, you drive a dual-wheel John Deere combine down the road. It's there. We deal with it every day, and I see what's happening. The only thing I want to bring to light is I feel like sometimes in Cleveland County we go too far too fast. This is a huge footprint. It's high density. It's a trailer park. I mean, you can call it whatever, but that's what it is, a trailer park. The one thing I noticed is over the weekend, my wife and I went around, and not a lot of people knew all the details. But everybody, that's their home. They're my neighbors. And y'all aren't just being asked to rezone that property. You're basically being asked to rezone everybody sitting in this room's property, because it's going to change. And as we were talking to these people, you know, they were telling us, we've lived here for X number of years. This was my mom and daddy's place. This was my grandpa's place. I'm not trying to shut down development in this county. It's coming. I've already said that. I just want y'all to use some common sense about what's being asked to be done there. It's on a dead-end road. There's one way in, one way out. The roads that lead from there are little bitty secondary roads. And along those secondary roads are neighborhoods, people's homes. They're my neighbors. And, you know, we've been there forever. Son and daughter are here. They're going to be there forever. We can get along with everybody. We're not trying to be bad neighbors. We feel like we're having something shoved down our throats. And if any one of y'all are in my position, you'd be standing right here talking too. I am not in favor of this whatsoever. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Matt. Next, we have Kelly Bell.
Hey, my name is Kelly Bell. Matt Bell is my husband. As he said, we live on one of the adjoining properties. We attended the planning board meeting back in October and listened to what everyone had to say. And your planning board, I have a couple of issues I'd like to speak on. One of the reasons that your planning board approved this was they said that it was comparable. What sorry, I'm vertically challenged
That's
on,
okay.
so on this. One of the reasons your planning board approved this is that they said that it was comparable to properties in the area, okay? Your map there, that may be somewhat true, but a lot of that is not true. If you will look on the north side and the east side of this property that is heavy industrial, the purple, all of the white is residential. It's zoned residential. My family owns I'm gonna do a Miss Glidden. I'm walking over to do a Miss Glidden. This tract is owned by the same person. There's 80 acres here. These tracts are owned by the same person. There's 60 acres in there. This tract, 45 acres. There are single-family homes on all of these larger tracts. Single family. This tract is more than 60 acres right here. Now, we've got the 107-acre tract that you are being asked to rezone. All of these are zoned for mobile manufactured homes. But what the difference is and how it's not comparable to what is being asked to be done to this property, these properties here are 2 acres. 1 mobile or manufactured home on each, 2 acres apiece. There is a mobile home park nearby. It's 20 acres and there's 27 trailers on that property. This, that's asking to be rezoned 3 per acre because there seems to be a 12-inch sewer line somewhere on this property that, you know, everybody thinks that's gonna be sufficient for 400 trailers. That's another problem that the planning board I had. And the other issue I had with the planning board was the secondary growth area for the land use. We're in it. My husband, we farm. We fight the secondary growth every time we get on the road with a piece of equipment. We fight the secondary growth everywhere we go. But your secondary growth, according to page 75 of your land use plan for Cleveland County, here's what it says. Secondary growth area, future land use category is intended to promote new development at lower densities of up to 1 dwelling per acre. Not 3. Not 3. It is expected for the area to retain its rural and agricultural character. Okay? It additionally says the residential development concept for this area is focused on single-family residential lots. Single-family residential lots should be located on larger lots to help ensure roadways remain safe and efficient within the requirements of state-maintained roadways. Your land use, got it off Google. That's what it says. Now, all of these folks on Roy Bell and Kilgore, they also are residential, 1-family home, 1 single-family home or manufactured home or something like that. Okay? We're just asking. We're just asking y'all for some common sense. We're asking you, all of these neighbors here, we're asking you not to wreck our community with this. And I assure you, something like that is proposed, it will wreck our small community. People that have lived there, not for years, for decades. That is irreversible. Something like that you're being asked to do, it's irreversible. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next is Robert Williams.
Again, I'm Robert Williams, 814 East Stagecoach Trail. And this is a tough act to follow, especially this lady with the NC State t-shirt. I like that. And she asked a lot of good questions. And she explained a lot of things too that wasn't explained, it wasn't presented to start with, like how this thing got zoned heavy industrial to start with. At first, I thought, you know, industrial development, economic development, we need heavy equipment, heavy industry and jobs that go along with it. But these people are totally correct. They live there, they know what it is. It's decades, generational. It's totally out of character. It got zoned as heavy equipment because just like I explained earlier, when Falston Waco, the first zoning we ever had in Cleveland County, got off on the wrong foot. That's what they were doing there. Political influence did that. Political influence did, in my opinion, what happened here to zone that as heavy industrial. From what I've heard tonight, I'm totally convinced that this is not a good project. It should be disapproved. Thank you.
Next is Robert Henderson.
Robert Henderson, 952 Bethlehem Church Road, Grover, North Carolina. I do not have any land that joins this piece of property. When I was younger, I could probably throw a rock and about hit it. I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'd probably have to ride over there. But most of these faces you see in this audience tonight are my friends and my neighbors. And so I felt like being that close to this and the impact that I think it's going to make, that it was the least I could do is to come and help plead their case. So I'm not going to go over a lot of things that they've already went over, but I want you to think about this in one particular way. The town of Grover is about 620-something surface acres. We have in the city limits, which I don't live in the city limits, under 800 people in the city limits of Grover. So we're talking about taking possibly 800 people and setting them on 130 acres. So, you know, I'll let you do your own math about that, but density-wise, to me, that's a disaster. And I do not think it's smart growth for our county. Normally, I would be standing up here fighting for something for agriculture like I've been in the past, because I would love to see this land stay in agriculture from now to the end of the time. But we have to have development. People have to have somewhere to live. I realize all that. But I don't think this is the direction that our county wants to go in by putting a whole town on 130-something acres. So that's what I am not for it. I am here basically for my neighbors and my community. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next is Robert Brooks.
Thank you. I just want to sort of co-sign with the Brookses, with the Bells back there, with everyone. Because I live on Oviedo Drive. That's the little dead-end road that goes into that property. Now, can you imagine, was it 400 people in there coming in and out every day? It took me about 15 years to get the little spot paved because it stopped at Royal Bell Road and it was dirt road down. Took 50, and I worked for the DOT, but wasn't on the list. So what I want to say is, it always seems as though you pave paradise to put up a parking lot. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Next is John Ferry.
I'm John Ferry, 1451 East Main Street in Spartanburg, South Carolina. My partner and I are the developers on this, or hope to be, and just wanted to introduce ourselves and also say, this is, our goal is to rezone this to, it's a down zone. It's going from industrial to residential manufactured, or RM. We have another development that we've done, we did about 3 years ago in Spartanburg, and we can I can tell you right now, it's safe, clean, nice streets. I mean, that was one of the, we've got sidewalks on both sides. We've got, you know, it's paved. It is bricked. It looks like a good, exactly what you said. Our goal is affordable housing. How do we bring clean, safe, affordable housing to communities? And this is our, you know, one of our projects. So our really second one that we've gone on after we did one in our backyard, and we did it in our own backyard. So, I mean, we, you know, we take pride in what we do, and so I just wanted to say that. Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, when we looked at this continuation of existing zoning, you know, and so once again, you know, we think it makes sense, you know, and we do plan to be measured. You know, we've got 52 homes in our existing community, and that's been over a 3-year period. We bring them in slowly as we sell them. You know, so we're not in the rental business. It's not a big transient business. We want pride of ownership, you know, within our community. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you for your time.
Sir. All right, Chris, I'm sure there'll be questions if you want to come back up. Also, Commissioners, you have before you a letter. Mr. Simmons could not be here tonight, so he prepared this letter that I went out and picked up today that you have before you. I gave one to the clerk as well. Tim, you want to use it? So what, if any, questions do you guys, or does the board have?
I guess my question is, you've got the RV park, and if that's the whole tract, was, I think it was a total of 210 acres to start with, wasn't it? And then, so that leaves about 80 acres. My biggest concern is the density with the RV park there and the trailer park there and the roads going in and out, that, you know, I have a concern, very much so.
Is that it, John?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
I too have problems with the density. I feel like we're gonna allow too many people to be in too small an area. One road going in and out. We've already approved the RV park at the end of the road, so just have problems with it.
Yeah, we went out there when the lady petitioned for the RV park, and it is a small road, and it is a dead-end road. And it worries me that they could be, I mean, I know it may go slow, but you're still almost putting the same population or more in this that's in the whole town of Grover, you know, so that does worry me. I probably wouldn't have a problem if it was going residential where there was larger tracts for each home, but I'm not too sure that if you could end up with 300 to 400 mobile homes, that would be a good thing.
After listening to what I've heard tonight, including the portion that was read from our own planning, then I feel like that we must vote no on this, and I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, a motion to deny. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Let's make sure we're clear. The motion was unanimous to deny the request. So we have one more planning case tonight. This is case 23-24. It's a request to rezone 2603 South Lafayette Street from general business to residential. Chris?
All right, so our third case is, again, a request to change the zoning of two parcels of land, adjoining parcels. I'll pause for a moment.
Yeah, just give me just a second. All right, Chris, you can go
Good.
ahead, I think.
So our third case is also a request to change the zoning of two parcels of land that are adjoining. They equal about 4.72 acres total together, and they're located at 2603 South Lafayette Street, and the petitioner is the owner, Mr. Scott Bradshaw. And he's asking to change the zoning from general business to the regular residential. And the property, you can see the two parcels there highlighted in black, and they're the two red parcels highlighted in black along South Lafayette Street. And just for geographic reference, the pink area is Faith Baptist Church near the intersection of Highway 180 and South 18 there. Again, Mr. Bradshaw is asking to change it out of the general business and into the regular residential. The general business district consists of uses that are more commercial in nature, and usually that district lies along these numbered highways like 18. And then the requested district is residential, and it allows for site-built, single-family dwellings, and with a density of one home per lot. Aerial map, you can see the parcel. There's actually a residence and then a large commercial-style building beside the residence. And then the southern lot is vacant. There's nothing that's been improved on that parcel. The landowner, Mr. Bradshaw, has indicated to staff that there was at one time, approximately 15 years ago, a business at that building next to that house, and it was a taxidermy shop at one point in time. But it's been a vacant building, just residential use over the last decade or more. Our land use designation shows this area again as secondary growth. Secondary growth has a vision of the county of these areas being more residential in nature over the next 10 to 20 years, so the requested district of residential would be consistent with that designation. And land use plan, again, with this case, like the last two, they noted that it would be an expansion of an existing residential district, conforms with the land use plan, and it's the uses that are allowed in the requested district are compatible and similar to the uses that you see in that area around that parcel. And they voted to approve, recommend approve. And this one also requires a public hearing, and I can answer any questions.
All right, board members, before we open the public hearing, are there any questions for Chris?
How big is that lot? Is it just a couple of acres?
There's two lots, and together they're 4.7 acres.
Any other questions? All right, if not, this time I'll declare the public hearing open, and we have one, maybe two. So first, Robert Williams.
Robert Williams, 814 East Stagecoach Trail in Falston. This is another situation. I signed up because I had no information about what this deal was. I wanted to hear what was presented before I made my decision on what I thought about it and how I would say what I was going to say. And you have to, the way you have it now, you have to sign up in advance before you can speak. So that pretty much puts anybody that wants to say anything, any member of the public, at a disadvantage. They have to sign up in advance without being presented any information. So what I've heard tonight, it's a small parcel. It's in a, I know about where it is, down toward 180, runs into South Lafayette Street. It's starting to thin out a lot. It's not within this city of Shelby property lines or whatever, so I don't know what that would have anything to do with anything. But as far as I'm concerned, if the owner of the property wants to rezone it to residential, I think that's going down in priorities or however you call it, levels. If he wants to do that, let him do it. Thank you.
Mr. Bradshaw, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll put no on that thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I'd like to get it rezoned is
is that I inherited this from my foster parents, and they hadn't had a business in there in like 15 or 20 years, and, you know, they've all passed away and everything, and I'd just like to get it put back to residential because I was trying to get a loan to do remodeling and stuff, and they wouldn't do it because it's a general business.
Okay, thank you, sir. Board, do you have any other questions? So if not, we're ready for a motion either to approve it or not.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I second.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed will say no. All right, motion carries unanimous, Madam Clerk. Board, next item on the agenda is board appointments. We have one tonight. I'll turn it over to Phyllis. This is appointment to the Cleveland County Library Board of Trustees.
Yes, sir. You have the list of applicants in front of you. At this time, you will need to appoint 3 people to serve a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to nominate Alton Bill, Elizabeth Grimsley, and Jerry Ann Queen to be on the Cleveland County Memorial Library Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second to appoint the 3 names cited. Are there any questions or discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next item on the agenda is a closed session. So let me read this, and then we'll need a motion to move into closed session. So closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3 to consult with the attorney employed or retained by public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. The public body may consider and give instructions to the attorney concerning the handling or settlement of a claim, judicial action, mediation, arbitration, or administrative procedure. Also, there'll be an item that will fall under closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1 and A6 to prevent disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or United States are not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, and to consider the qualification, competency, performance, character, fitness, condition of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear an investigation, complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee.
I move we go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor will say aye. Anybody opposed? So the board is now in closed session. We're going to reconvene in the board's meeting room. David and Doug. Okay. All right, looks like everybody's back. Madam Clerk, let the record show the board's back in open session. During closed session, the board gave directions to staff and no other action was taken. With that, down to any commissioners have anything they'd like to report?
Veterans Connection.
I will see you all there.
So staff, David, you got anything, anybody? All right, with that, before we adjourn, so the next meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Commissioners will be held Monday, December the 4th, 2023 at 10 a.m. here for an organizational meeting. Again, it'll be here in the Commissioner Chambers. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second, right? So any others? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we'll see you guys in the morning at the event.